I mean, we can put
Okay, I'd like to call to order the special meeting for October 19th, 2016. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Gary, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Sure. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Determination of the quorum, Mr. General Manager.
Excuse me. Director Reynolds. Director Luckman.
Here.
Director Johnson.
Here.
Director Unger.
Here.
And attending teleconference, Lee, that's a word. President Fuller.
Here.
Madam Vice President, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Item number 4, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Before you approve the agenda, I have one change. The future director meetings and trainings opportunity, number 12. President Fuller will be attending that rather than Vice President Luckman.
Which one? The Mojave?
The Mojave Water Agency Board of Directors on October 27th.
Thank you. With that change, do I have a motion?
I don't understand the agenda. I'm sorry. We go into closed session, and it looks like there's 2 items on closed session, but we never come out of closed session. We adjourn in closed session. Doesn't usually say report on closed session.
We will adjourn the closed session and then come out of closed session and have...
So the closed session items are which?
The closed session is the conference with legal counsel on
Okay.
potential litigation.
14.
Number 14.
Okay. So then we come out of closed session for item 15.
Yes, ma'am.
Doesn't seem right.
Yeah, seems like we should,
Is there a reason that we did this?
Yes, there is. There's discussions in the closed session that may or may not pertain to item 15 that need to be discussed.
General Manager needs a private conversation with the board before you approach that prior item, and subsequent item.
Okay, with that clarified, do I have a motion?
I move that we accept the agenda.
Do I have a second? I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Keep forgetting about you. Thanks, Vic.
Oppose, I oppose.
You oppose it? 4-1.
Just for clarification, would you ask President Fuller what her vote was to approve or to not approve?
President Fuller, was your vote to approve or not to approve?
My vote was to approve the agenda.
Okay, so it's 4-1.
4-1. Item number 5, public comment. Members of the public may address the board at this time with regard to matters within the board's jurisdiction that are not listed on the agenda. State law prohibits the board of directors from discussing or taking action on items not included on the agenda. Members of the public will have the opportunity for public comment on any item listed on the agenda when it is addressed on the agenda. Please limit comments to 3 minutes or less. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we will move to the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are considered routine in nature and will be adopted in total by one action of the Board of Directors unless any board member or any individual or organization interested in one or more consent calendar items wishes to be heard. And the consent calendar item is the draft minutes of the October 5th, 2016 regular meeting of the Board of Directors.
Vice President Luckman, I have one change to the minutes.
Yes, sir.
On your packet, page 423, number 7, the MSC Luckman Unger 4-1 to adopt a resolution number 16966. Should end in a period there, and the 4 words "with the following change" are not necessary.
Okay. With that change, do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 That's right, we have to do that.
Aye.
5-0. Item number 7, just what does a lobbyist do?
So this is a little presentation for the board to receive for information only. At our last board meeting, a member of the public claimed that the Water District had paid over $260,000 to a lobbying firm between 2009 and 2015 and had received no grant money from that firm. It was also stated that the monies came from the Mojave Water Agency, and maybe the board should have spent more time talking and working with Mojave Water Agency rather than the lobbying firm. So I want the public to be accurately informed, as I'm sure you know by now. So I'd like to take a look at the facts. And so the first question is, what does a lobbyist do? And lobbyists spend time researching legislation, regulations, potential places where we can find additional support, congressional support, state assembly support, or monies. They monitor staying informed of and effectively reporting on developments in governmental issues, such as, for example, chromium-6. And they attend hearings, not only of Congress, but they attend hearings of the various federal and state agencies about what monies are available and what budgets might be available, et cetera. And they work with coalitions, developing and coordinating not only with grassroots organizations such as us, but also other organizations or non-governmental organizations that could help support us in our endeavors to get legislation or get funding. And they educate and inform officials and the public. So in short, a good lobbying firm is our connection to government, and they should be looking out for our interests. So why retain a lobbying firm? Why did we retain Carpy Clay? As the district was evaluating funding opportunities for the recharge project, we found that other agencies were receiving grants and we weren't. And the overlying fact came to light that the other agencies were working with lobbying firms. The district began working with Carpy Clay, lobbyist, in June of 2009. Carpy Clay is a firm that has a state office in Sacramento, literally 2 blocks from the state capitol. And they have an office in Washington, D.C., and have working relationships with all of the federal agencies and as well as the congressional committees. So we paid $206,000 over a 6-year period, which averages out to about $34,000 a year. And what were the actual results? So, Keith, can you move that slide up a bit? Okay, well, that's okay. So either directly or indirectly, as a result of the Carpy Clay lobbying, the district received the following grants for the recharge project. The Environmental Protection Agency out of Washington, I like the formatting, $291,000. The Mojave Water Agency gave us a grant of $1 million. The Department of Water Resources, state, gave the district a grant of $3 million. And the Department of Public Health, which is now State Water Resource Control Board, part of State Water Resource Control Board, gave the district a grant for $3,210,000. And in addition to that, the Mojave Water Agency had looked at their IDM reserve fund, and they were reimbursing districts in the IDM because they had calculated that they had overcharged, and Susan can So that $598,000 that the ratepayers had paid through their bonds actually came back to the district and went into the recharge pond project. So the total that we received in grants was $8,099,000. And the next slide. The total project cost for the water recharge, the pipeline extension and the recharge ponds, was $9,570,000. Of that, our grant funding was $8,099,000, and the project was funded 85% with grants, which is unheard of. The cost of the lobbyist as a percentage of the grants received was 3%. Next slide. Okay, go back to that last slide. Between 2009 and 2015, the district spent $206,000 in lobbying services, either directly or indirectly. These services contributed to over $8 million in free money. And I would remind the board and the general public that it was not just the lobbying firm that did this work. They opened doors for us, but your district staff were the ones that prepared the presentations and gathered the required information that led to these grants being approved. The district needed to fund a $9 million project and successfully obtained $8 million in grants. Now, we face another daunting task, Chromium-6. Perhaps a cost as high as $17 million. We will need to expand our lobbying and grant writing capabilities, as well as widen our coalition of partners to include the Mojave Water Agency, the Environmental Protection Agency, the United States Department of Agriculture, the Bureau of Reclamation, the Department of Water Resources, State Water Resource Control Board, and other agencies and organizations in order to be successful. I've worked at the district for 2.5 years now. I've noticed that sometimes the public comment period is used to make allegations about past boards and imply wasteful spending. When the facts are looked at, what I see is that these allegations have been shown to be consistently false. In order to make things work, we have to have partnerships and open lines of communication. It takes time and effort to build these coalitions. Some people prefer that the board not attend seminars. Yet it is the networking that occurs at these seminars which facilitates success. Some people want us to have nothing to do with the Mojave Water Agency. But we have a solid partnership with the Mojave Water Agency, not only because of the work of staff, but because all 5 directors routinely attend the board of directors meetings of the Mojave Water Agency. This agency has consistently provided this district with funding, as well as in-depth professional analysis and access to their partnerships. It took just 2 technical advisory committee meetings of the Mojave Water Agency for us to get our Chrome-6 compliance plan incorporated into the Integrated Regional Water Management Plan. Through that partnership, we are now eligible to leverage that with both Department of Water Resources and State Water Resource Control Board for funding for Chrome-6. President Fuller and Vice President Luckman are on the Association of California Water Agencies committees. Through their work, they've established connections with the State Water Resource Control Board. In fact, both are on a first-name basis with the chair of the Board of Directors of the State Water Resource Control Board. I wonder why it is that our Chromium-6 financial package has been improved in 10 months as compared to other water districts' financial packages that have lingered for more than 2 years. I've mentioned before, and I'll reiterate tonight, if you have concerns about the way the water district is being operated, I'm available to talk to you. Let's start with getting the facts straight, and let's look at the district as a whole. Rather than dwelling in the past, I hope that we can choose to move forward, which is where this district is going. In closing, I want to go back to what I said about Carpy Clay and who did the work. $34,000 average per year. They were fed information by Joe Gazzetta, the former general manager, Susan Greer, our assistant general manager, who had assistance from Ann Roman, Autumn Rich, Keith Fall, Randy Mays, and our public information consultant Kathleen Radnich, who worked with a local vendor to put together a video on the recharge project that was used in the state capitol and was used in Washington, D.C. So that's the end of my report, and I'm quite happy to report to you that $206,000 paid off, especially with the assistance of your district staff, in over $8 million of free money. End of report.
Thank you. Any comments from the board? Mike?
Keith.
I was involved from the get-go of hiring Carpy Clay and giving him help, especially in Washington DC. We see by the numbers it was successful. I do want to send extra kudos to Kathleen. That video was very impressive. I was there personally in Washington DC when Congress people saw that, and they were equally impressed. I think that had a great deal to do with what happened as well. Good job. Let's move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Becky?
Well, I do remember when we said, well, we don't need them right now, so we canceled that contract. But now we need them again. And so we've got a wonderful relationship. They know us. All the hard work you guys have done, everybody has done. So got another big project to fund.
Yep. Bob?
Yeah, thank you for the update. It unfortunately takes money to make money.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good return, though.
Yes, not bad at all. And I, like Mike, went back on several of the trips for lobbying back there, and that video just blew them away. We showed it to the Bureau of Reclamation, and they could not believe it. So it was really very exciting, and thank you very much. And you walk your feet off when you're back there. Remember that? We walked all over the place because Carpy Clay is across the street from all the Capitol buildings, so they walk everywhere they go. Any public comment? Mr. Marquez?
Al Marquez, Sunfair, Joshua Tree. I noticed that the district, now I'm not going to make any point about the manager for the water district. I do have a lot of respect for the manager. My comments is the board of directors on the way they been making decisions for the ratepayers in the district. But it's been stated by staff that there was $206,000 was spent for lobbying firms between 2009 and 2015. But what was net said that funds, and this was Joe Gazzetta when he was a manager, it started in 2007, the lobbying request, and this was in June 14th of 2007. So in essence, the district has been spending more money for a couple of more years for the lobbying firms. And I have a graph here stating that these funds were paid to Capri and Clay since 2007, and it was $40,000 a year up until the year of 2014, and the year of 2015 when the manager terminated the lobbying firm. They paid for 6 months, which was $20,000. So in essence, and the total amount of time from 2007 to 2015, there was $340,000 paid to the Capri and Clay. So I was in error when I said $260,000, but I found out it was more than $260,000. It was $340,000, plus what the staff, or not staff, but the manager and two of the board members went to Washington to supposedly lobby the Congress over there, and supposedly they were supposed to go there for a water conference, not lobbying the Congress. So bottom line is that, and I've been accused by not only the board, but some of the staff and some of the people from the CAC and others that I come up with misleading information, and the information I do come up with is incorrect. That is not true. All the information I have is I get from either from the district or from state. Thank you.
Fine. Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, we will move on to item number 8, proposal to hire Kennedy Jenks to provide a grant. Mr. Asada.
So the recommendation is that the board authorize the general manager to enter into a contract with Kennedy Jenks to provide grant writing services over the next year at a cost not to exceed $60,000. Several issues have created the need to find additional funding for the district's priorities. These include funding for the construction of chromium-6 treatment facilities, funding for a sustainable groundwater management plan, and/or the creation of a sustainable groundwater management agency, pipeline replacement, leak detection and replacement of pipeline that is known to be leaking once we find it, and replacement of 4,500 meters and the MXUs that the meters have reached their expected end-of-use life expectancy. Kennedy Jenks Consultants has worked for the district in the past and are well known for their success with grant applications. They're used by the Mojave Water Agency as well as 29 Palms Water District and other water districts. Meredith Clements, who you met during the presentation of the 2015 Urban Water Management Plan, has experience in the federal arena, working with the Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Agriculture, and the Bureau of Reclamation. Both Meredith and Loren Everett have experience working with grant programs administered by the Department of Water Resources, State Water Resource Control Board, and other agencies. This proposal, which is attached in your packet, includes pursuing funding with the Bureau of Reclamation Title 16, Department of Water Resource funding for sustainable groundwater management, Proposition 81, something called the Safe Drinking Water Bond Law, which is funding, could be funding for meter replacement and possibly mainline replacement funds. Additionally, this company's exposure in the water industry will possibly locate additional grant opportunities which are a good fit for other district projects. The fiscal impact would be up to $60,000, with a probable result being millions of dollars in grants or low-interest loans over the next 3 years. And I should say that I should have included in the recommendation that this is at up to, not to exceed $60,000 with a 10% contingency. And even as this Kennedy Jenks proposal was written, Loren Everett and I have had discussions with Dennis Wolf, who's in charge of Title 16 for our region of the Bureau of Reclamation. The Mojave Water Agency has authorized Phelan Pinion Hills,
CSD, yeah.
the remaining $3.7 million of a 2007 authorization. If they're successful in that, we'll have to find other monies that the Bureau of Reclamation has, but Dennis Wolf informed me last week in a phone conversation that November 2nd, there's going to be yet another round of grant requests put on their webpage, and a feasibility study for our chromium-6 construction could be funded under that. And there is consideration in the Bureau of Reclamation's process that they're going to make money available without the formal authorizations of Title 16. So we want to be on board with them. Task 2, grant program identification and monitoring. Best way I can describe this to folks is I was talking with Loren, and Meredith about what they could do for us, and they said, we need to replace our meters. They're at end of life. And Loren goes, well, that's, title, or Proposition 81, the Safe Drinking Water Bond Law. Well, none of us had heard of the Safe Drinking Water Bond Law, and that's the familiarity that they have in working in the grant arena. Sustainable Groundwater Management Act funding. There is a need to address Sustainable Groundwater Management Act requirements for high and medium priority basins. We're in discussions with the Mojave Water Agency and the county about where the actual boundary is between the Warren Basin and the Joshua Tree Basin, and where the Yucca Barrier is that was discovered by the USGS in 1978 with further refinement in 2003. It may be that we need to actively start working on our part of the Sustainable Groundwater Management Agency. And the guidelines haven't even come out from the Department of Water Resources, but Kennedy Jenks is involved in reviewing those guidelines. And as I mentioned, Proposition 81, Safe Drinking Water Bond Law funding for meters and potentially some pipeline replacement. So I think it's a good opportunity for us to tap into an experienced grant writing company and see if we can't come up with a couple or maybe $15 million in grants. So that's the end of the report.
Thank you. Any board comments? Start with you this time, Rebecca.
Oh, I suppose we could just raise the water rates.
To pay for all the stuff you need instead of getting grants? Is that where you're going with that?
And lobbyists and all that, sure, we just
Yeah.
raise the rates.
I think I prefer to get grants. Anything else?
No.
Bob?
I appreciate the report. It's just interesting how Chromium 6 is, the tail's wagging the dog here, so
Thank you.
how to maneuver around that.
Mike?
Sure would like to hear how that lawsuit's coming. I wish they could speed it up. 'Cause
Let me tell you, it's one of the slowest rates.
Tremendous amount of money potentially for nothing. Hopefully for nothing. But I don't want to spend the money either. That's all I have.
If I might interject, I think last week Gil distributed, well, to me, the, what's it called?
Tentative ruling.
Tentative ruling, and made copies, and we've made copies and put them in the Board of Directors cubby. And we would make copies for anybody in the public that would be interested, or maybe put it on the web. I read the tentative ruling, and the background that's in there about how the state went about determining the MCL level is remarkable.
It's very worthwhile reading.
Yeah.
I checked,
And
Michael,
I would
I checked the
encourage-
court docket today, and the tentative ruling is still under submission. Judge Christopher has not ruled on it yet. He's still thinking about it. And you can't read into that. That's not uncommon in such an important case. But his tentative ruling, just like Kurt just reported, is,
It's the usual timeframe.
there is no usual. The more complex the case is, the more statewide ramifications that are involved, which this is, it could take another month. He may even withdraw it and write another ruling, who knows? But that's really, what your general manager is recommending you read it. It's very insightful.
I appreciate it, yeah,
Director
thank you.
Rebecca's nodding her head, she must have read it. Very educational also. And as you recall, the recommendation of the tentative ruling is to send it back to the Department of Health and do a more thorough financial analysis and determine its economic feasibility. And and until that's done, they want to do a hold up on the MCL, 10 parts per billion. the science was not alluded to in any great detail in the tentative ruling, like I told you last week, a couple weeks ago. But you got to keep going and take care of your people and produce the best quality of water you can. You can't rely on court decisions. That court decision could be, it'll certainly be appealed. If that tentative ruling goes one way or the other, I'm sure it'll go up to appeal, and 5 years from now, we'll be talking about it. In the meantime, you got a water district to run, and you're committed to giving your people safe drinking water and adhere to standards that you think are in play right now. That's not my job, that's Kurt's job. I talk too much. I wouldn't, in other words, I wouldn't bank your compliance with the tentative ruling on the results or non-results of pending litigation. That's too speculative.
Well, 10, 12 years ago.
Excuse me?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, you must, go ahead.
Okay. 10, 12 years ago, the state EPA tried to change the radiologicals, MCLs, and to a very low picocuries, and it didn't go. There was a lot of pushback to it, and they had to revise, back up. So there is some precedent for challenges to these.
Absolutely.
To show, but this one they're doing this based on the cost.
The cost.
That it's, and definitely it is, and
Well, like I told you reported last session, that's part of the administrative code that requires cost to be taken into consideration. But you can't let grass grow under your feet. Well, this goes on for 5 years. And how prudent is that?
Absolutely
It's
not.
not.
Yeah.
Anyone from the public have any comments? If you haven't read it, it's really interesting because it is based on the economics much more. There's
And the
nothing about
science.
the
I was
science.
surprised
There's
by
nothing
that
about
as
the
well.
science. Al?
Al Marquez, Cemetery Community of Joshua Tree. Like I said, I got a lot of respect for the manager, but what I like to say basically is it's the board of directors that make the decisions in what direction that this water district goes. It's not management, and what I've seen in the last 10 years, it almost seems like the board of directors are working for the manager instead of the manager working for the board of directors. So in essence, what I'm saying is that a lot of times the board of directors are always asking, what does staff recommend? And then staff says, well, we recommend what's on the agenda. So then the board says, oh, okay, fine. We'll vote that through as what staff recommends. My main comment is on that proposal for hiring, I'm sorry, just what does a lobbyist do? I'm sorry, that was already done. For hiring to provide a grant. It was stated that almost $600,000 was grant money. Well, really, it's not. This money was received from the Mojave Water Agency, but that's part of the Mojave Morongo Pipeline agreement. And the agreement on that states that this money that is in the reserve account, which the reserves are not available for any other purpose other than for the project participant. Now, this has to do with the Morongo Pipeline, not an extension of the Morongo Pipeline for the recharge. So that $600,000 was not only ill-advised, but it wasn't free grant money, it's the ratepayers that paid for it. Because the ratepayers and their property taxes pay 60% or 40%, one of the two, then the other 60% is paid by the rates that the water district charges the ratepayers. So in essence, that $600,000 was paid by the ratepayers, not grant money. And like I say, is the board of directors are not informed or not keeping themselves informed. They're just going by what they think that the staff is telling them and not fact-checking everything that goes on. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. All right, any other public comment? Seeing none, do I have a motion on item number 8, proposal to hire Kennedy Jenks to provide grant writing?
Don't forget the contingency.
With a contingency of 10%.
with a, for yes, at a cost not to exceed $60,000 with contingency of 10%.
I'd like to see this tabled for 30 days to see what happens with that ruling.
I don't think 30 days is long enough.
No, I don't think so
I'd
either.
like to see what happens.
So I don't have a motion?
Oh, I'll move that we hire Kennedy Jenks. I think we should get moving on it.
Okay.
With
So
the 10% contingency.
will a 10%
I'll
contingency?
second that.
Okay, all in favor, Mike?
No.
Aye.
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 Okay, 4-1. Thank you, Vic. Standing committee reports. Finance Committee, Director Fuller and Director Johnson. The next meeting is scheduled for November 1st at 9 a.m. That is a change. In the minutes, it said it was going to be on Monday. It's actually been moved to Tuesday. Water Resources and Operations, Vice President Luckman and Director Johnson. That meeting is also on the 1st at 10 a.m., and that's the same change. Legislative and Public Information, Kathleen Radnich, and that meeting is scheduled for the 2nd, and Kathleen will give the report.
Coming off of the Chromium-6 talk, I had something in my report that I just thought I'd wait till, because I was right behind it. But I wanted to bring up that being that I'm out in the public and that very in-depth letter went out to all our customers, a lot of hard work and thought, picking every word so that it was clearly communicated. I have been interacting with many of our people in the community. What came from that is I went and I rented the Aaron Brockovich video. I needed to get my hands around this panic that I'm starting to hear in people's voices. So after watching it, and this is from me to staff and the board and everyone else here, the bottom line was we aren't removed from the problem, as was the situation in that video, which was very different, in fact, in how they had their problem. We're drinking the same water our customers are drinking. We're having to deal with the problem and pay for it ourselves. And I'm starting to communicate this to people, especially when I'm out at the market. And when they realize we're all in this together, they're starting to at least accept that we're not trying to do something behind their back. And this is really important that we continue letting people know we're all in this here together. At local government level, we can say that. And I just wanted you to know it seems to help calm them down, and we have made a commitment to start turning our monthly newsletter. One side will be dedicated to what we're doing with the Chromium-6 issue. The front side would be for our continued water conservation efforts, because that one's not going away either. But page 2, we will constantly be updating the people as we go through it. This is not like we've done this before. And when they realize this is a new problem for all of us. So I tell them, it's going to be like a soapbox. Follow the newsletter and we'll give you the updates, where we're at and what we're doing. And again, when they realize we're trying to move through this as a unit, as a community, and not us versus them, it seems to really be impacting and calming and having, and I tell them, tell your neighbors, read the newsletter, tell your friends what you're learning, because we're in this together. And I just really felt it on my heart after this discussion that we all share in that attitude as we go forward. Because again, we've never done this. So, that being said, I will steal Director Unger's thunder and remind that our candidates forum, being sponsored by the Joshua Tree Chamber of Commerce, of which we're a member, we'll be holding it tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m. at the Chamber office on Halley Road. That is October 20th for anyone listening. Also, I want to thank Vice President Luckman and Director Unger for manning our Great Shakeout booth at the Jack in the Box parking lot area last Saturday. and CAC member Tom Floan, who also came and helped on both ends. Bye.
$5.
Along with the other volunteers of Den Winberry and Steve Whitman, who held down the fort as I was going back and forth between booths at the farmer's market. Volunteers and the directors, help in being there and representing us was very important, and thank you. There's no way I could have been in two places at once. Lord, I tried, but thank you. And from your report, you had a lot of interactions, so that's good. And the theme was what to do for water in an emergency, and there was much to talk to on that. So thank you again. Go on, sit down. The website has been long in effort to update, and it's not so much drastically changed in appearance. We didn't want to have people get lost in what they're comfortable going to, but it has been freshened. We've updated videos. We've checked a gazillion links, and many have gone dead, and then we've replaced pictures, and information has changed. If ever there's something you see that isn't right or needs updating, it's a full-time job. It's like dirty laundry. I mean, it just never ends. So please feel free to let me know, email me, but you're welcome to go to it, and I think we have most of it all updated. So I want to apprise you of that. And next month, November, Farmers Market theme will be winterizing. It is right around the corner. We will be doing in our newsletter, like I said, on one side would be for water conservation. Pipes break. When they freeze, we lose water, so do be thinking about your winterizing. And remember, if your pipes haven't broken yet, as they age and weaken, they can later break. So if they've never done it, doesn't mean you escape it. So please do look at winterizing your pipes. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will move on to item number 10, District General Counsel report. Gil?
Very brief, we do have a closed session tonight. But I want to tell the board and staff about Senate Bill 7 that the governor signed, Governor Brown signed on September 28th. 9 states in the United States have allowed submetering for years, including Arizona and Texas. Now California will be joining them. And a law goes into effect January 1. It's going to require all multi-family complexes, apartment houses, to have, that are going newly constructed to require submetering. That's huge.
Require what?
Submetering. Each
So
unit
individual
will have a
metering.
meter and be accountable for its water consumption. The legislator, Lois Wolk, is a Democrat out of Davis. She's been pushing this for 3 years at least, and she finally got some form of the legislation passed. Governor Jerry signed, John Brown signed it on the end of September, and we should be prepared for our will serve letters and so forth for that consequence. It's significant. Because maybe not here so much. I don't know how many apartment houses you have in.
No new ones in 29 years.
Really? I'm surprised, because housing is so
Well, I've got
shortfall.
Duplex.
I've got two
Duplex we have.
Quadplexes
coming down the
I
pike.
suspect more is coming down the pike. In more populated areas, such as Orange County, which I have districts out there, in San Diego County, this is a big deal. And water districts have long sought this type of regulation, and it's finally got passed through the legislature, that's all. Just want to let you know about it. And we are going to have a closed session tonight.
Did you say that was Senator Fuller?
No, Davis, excuse me, Lois Wolk, W-O-L-K.
Okay.
She's out of Davis, Democrat out of Davis.
So it says new apartment buildings, so it doesn't really apply to a duplex or a triplex. It's
No,
apartment
not the way the
buildings.
law, law is always subject to interpretation, but I don't interpret it that way.
Okay. General Manager report, item number 11.
Okay. So the Department of Water Resources this week has advised us that our 2015 Urban Water Management Plan addresses the requirements of the California Water Code, and that this finding will be provided to DWR, a Financial Assistance Branch, which means that we will be allowed to continue to compete for state financial packages from state agencies. And the 2010 plan was approved by the DWR in 2014. So our 2015 plan submitted in 2016 and approved in 2016. Obviously, there's a move afoot to speed things up. The NextEra project. Staff met with NextEra Solar construction contractors on site in September to discuss placement of a construction meter, as well as placement of a permanent 2-inch meter. We agreed with NextEra representative to wait on the placement of the permanent water meter until they could have the property surveyed. On October 17th, staff met with the NextEra rep and was informed that NextEra wanted to wait on purchasing the permanent meter because they are in the process of selling the project to a German company by the name of BayWa. The expected sale is supposed to take place around November 1st. I have confirmed this with NextEra management. We have received $45,000 for the recharge water, $10,000 for legal fees to bring us up to a zero balance on past legal activities, and a $30,000 as down payment on construction costs, projected future legal costs. So at this point, we're waiting to hear from any company that might want to get a permanent meter. The Altamira project, just so everybody knows, I know of no recent district contact with the Altamira proponents. The will serve letter expired in July, and another will serve will be needed. Additionally, extensive discussion will need to occur concerning mainline installation, operation, and funding of the wastewater treatment facility, as well as securing funding for the long-term replacement of the facility 20, 40, and 60 years into the future. Chromium-6 financial package, according to Gary Chan, the handler of our package in Sacramento. The contract is being drafted and circulated for comments, and he is hopeful that the contract will be approved by mid-November, which means the board will have to approve it sometime, hopefully, before Christmas, and we can start receiving initially grant monies. The BLM lease update. You'll remember that we had a cost for the BLM lease of $9,000 up until this year. Then we were informed that our new lease cost was in excess of $40,000 per year. We received a letter from BLM stating that our hardship request has been forwarded from the Barstow office to the state office for a final decision. The letter also recommended that we submit a standard form 299 to amend the right-of-way width to 10 feet wide from 30 and 20 feet wide, which will reduce the acreage that they're renting to us from 89 acres down to 33.7 acres. And it would reduce our annual fee in 2017 from $40,000 to just over $15,000. We will submit the standard form 299 on Monday, and we expect that our bill in mid-December will be a little over $15,000. And on Tuesday, I spoke with BLM Supervisory Land Specialist in their state office. Although he had not received our hardship letter, which Barstow told us they had forwarded it, nonetheless, we reviewed the content of the letter. He's quite supportive of the hardship letter, but he's also quite clear that your chances are low. But he basically encouraged us to strengthen the initial letter concerning our cost of services versus private for-profit water companies, how the 343% increase in annual rental fees will have an effect on the district's budget, what comparable business practices of other utilities and private landowners in reference to our local fair market value for rights-of-way is, as opposed to their fair market value determination in Washington, D.C., and a specific request for a temporary hardship waiver pending the next evaluation of the right-of-way rental costs, which will occur in 2020. So sometime in the next couple of weeks, we'll send in a revised hardship letter directly to the state offices, and I expect a ruling sooner than this court case ruling. But let's see what happens. So those are some of the things that are going on behind the scenes And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, sir. Okay, item number 12, future director meetings and training opportunities. The Mojave Water Agency Board of Directors meeting on the 27th will be President Fuller. Aqua Region 9 Program and Tour 2016 on November 4th will be President Fuller and Vice President Luckman. The two of us are going on that. The ASB CSD dinner is going to be hosted by Mojave, and that's usually Mike. And that's on November 14th. I may go to that too because I usually go when Mojave hosts. And then the Aqua 2016 Fall Exhibition goes from November 29th, 2016 through December 2nd, 2016 in Anaheim at the Marriott, which probably many of us are planning to attend, if not all, since it's fairly local. All right, we'll start with director reports on meetings attended, comments, and future agenda items. Start with you, Mike.
Alrighty, thank you. I attended the Special Districts meeting last Monday, and it was hosted by West Valley Water District, and Matt Litchfield was the interim general manager, and he gave a very interesting and informative talk about a chemical I'd never heard of called perchlorate. Did I say that right?
Yes, sir, perchlorate.
It was surprising and scary. You think we got problems with chromium-6. They recently had several wells shut down as a result of high perchlorate levels. What is perchlorate, you might ask? It is a toxin as a result of rampant industrial pollution. It's especially poisonous to the thyroid. Fortunately, for a couple gazillion dollars, they can fix it. And they are working hard on it. They are coming up with a machine called a fluidized bed reactor that will clean this perchlorate away. What is perchlorate? Again, it's salts derived from perchlorate acid. It's also a chemical used in rocket fuel, explosives, fireworks, airbags, and it's in the drinking water in Rialto. That's all I have to report.
Wow.
Back to you, Madam President.
Boy, that's cheerful news for Rialto. All right, Bob.
I don't really have anything to report other than thanks to the folks at the farmers market. There's a good crowd over there, and appreciate everybody with their hard work. Candidates forum tomorrow.
Yeah.
Halloween's coming.
What is scarier? Is that what you're trying to say?
That's all I have.
I was
Thank
waiting
you.
for a clown joke.
Rebecca.
I want to thank Kathleen for preparing the booth at the Great Shakeout so well.
Yeah.
There were really interesting displays. People were interested in how do they use bleach to everyone's got a bottle of bleach at home. Well, how do they actually use it, to purify their water? One fella said he had moved into a house in Landers and cleaning out the shed. He found some of those old bush cans of water from the Landers Quake.
Wow.
And he saw we had cans there and the pop tops too, and he was like, "Wow, what is this?" So I said, "He got collector's items." But it was really good. People were really interested. Met a lot of interesting folks, and thank you very much, Kathleen.
Yeah, I will second that. It was really fun to be there. A lot of interesting people, including the California militia, which I didn't know California had a militia, but they do. And they helped us take down our booth when the wind came up and it got really, really windy. So it was a really nice day. Thank you again for setting it up. It was a fascinating booth to be maintaining. And I was at the Mojave Water Agency meeting on whatever day it was, the 13th of October. The only thing that's of interest to the Morongo Basin is the fact that they are putting a plant database on their website for AWAC, which is the
Alliance.
Alliance for Water Awareness and Conservation. And it's being designed by Summer Tree Institute. That's our friend
Robin.
Cavalli down in Morongo Valley. So watch for that on their website, on the AWAC website. It was an interesting meeting. And with that, I don't have anything.
Isn't Mojave having a meeting at the college?
Yes, the next board meeting is at the college. And what day is that?
The 27th or something? 28th?
28th Thursday.
Yeah, it's 28th Thursday. And Becky, are you going to that?
I am.
Okay, so that's the one that Rebecca's going to, and that is open.
I'm good.
Yeah, you're
According to the
scheduled to go, I
agenda,
think.
the Mojave
Vicky?
Water Agency Board of Directors meeting is October 27th.
October 27th.
But I'm going for the fun.
Yes, but actually,
It's Madam Vicky.
yeah, Victoria's going because I took the last one for her.
One question about the legal counsel's report.
Yes, sir?
The sub-metering deal?
Yes, sir.
Can that be done by the district, or can that be done by the property owners? The master meter sub-metering?
It's part of the, it'll be part of the building codes, and it'll be done by the contractor, the developer, the property owner, if you will.
So it can still be master metered at the district
Right,
level?
it's just something that we'll have to insist upon. We're a party to that.
Yeah.
Okay, Vic, do you have anything?
No,
Is that a yeah or no?
no from my side.
Okay, no. And then we will move on to item number 14, closed session, conference with legal counsel on potential litigation. This time, we're going to go into closed session pursuant to paragraphs 2 and 4 of subdivision D of Government Code, section 54956.9, to confer with legal counsel on a matter of potential litigation. One matter. Will there be a
Yes.
report?
And then we will come back into open session to potentially, an action item, number 15.
Okay, so we will recess to the closed session, and we'll be back in here at the end of that. Thank you very much for everyone who came. If you're not staying, if you're staying, we'll see you when we come back.
Do we anticipate action coming out of this?
Item
closed session?
Yeah, potentially, it's on the agenda.
Yes, on the agenda.
You could take action, you could table it, we'll see.
Can I
I
hand
would
you up,
imagine the
Vic?
closed session is going to take at least 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, send me up. Thank you.
Half an hour, according.
We're waiting for Vic to call in.
All right, yeah, I was gonna ask about that, when I told my,
Oh, here it is, I got it.
I know I can read it.
Okay.
Beverly? Yes, sir. Did Richard get a copy of the tentative?
Okay. Hi there.
I'm here.
All right, we are back in open session again, and I will turn it over to legal counsel for reporting.
Thank you,
the
Madam
closed session.
Chairman. I'll read it into the record, the open session report on tonight's closed session. At approximately 7:26 PM, the board did go into closed session as reflected in item 14 of tonight's agenda. And during the closed session, the district's general counsel and general manager led a discussion on a matter of potential litigation. No further reportable action was taken. The closed session ended at approximately 8:36 PM, and the board returned to a regular session. Next item on the agenda, Madam Chairman, is item 15.
Madam Chairman, I move that we table item 15.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Bye.
Okay. Item 15 has been tabled for the moment. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
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 Bye.
Thanks, Vic. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
You could have told us that before we waited.
We didn't
We didn't know.
You did know it, right?
If we had known,
And,
See you soon.